I'm Matthew, and this is a Recypher review. This is part of my series, King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, where I review Mobile Fighter G Gundam every episode, 1 through 49. I am on episode 21 right now, and I would like to discuss, or I'd like to say quickly that I really liked this episode. There were a lot of great things in it. One, it's kind of like a standard episode of a shonen anime, or even like a tokusatsu, like a Kamen Rider Super Sentai, where the protagonist gets an upgrade, because while Domon has been able to use his super mode erratically, infrequently, I don't know, intermittently, I guess you could say, he has not done a good job of actually being able to control it. It's something that he used to, when it started out, he used to call upon all his anger to do it, and then his anger stopped working. His anger stopped being able to reliably fuel the super mode that he needed so desperately in so many fights to win. And then he goes to the Ghana Highlands. He spends probably months there over the course of the show that we've seen, and even though this Ghana Highlands arc is only like 4 or 5 episodes, or maybe it's like 6 to 7, and like 3 of them take place over 3 days, I believe. This one, it starts with 3 days left, and then it ends up becoming, I guess it's 2 days technically by the end of the episode, and that just kind of continues for the next couple, and he barely makes it to the finals. Spoilers for G Gundam. Anyway, so what happens is, while Domon, prior to this, the beginning of this episode, Domon has spent 2 weeks away from his Gundam and away from his allies, the fellow members of the Shuffle Alliance, who have just kind of been sticking around. You find out later that they've all been experiencing pain from their Shuffle crests, as he has been struggling to figure out his super mode. Schwarzbruder's hanging around, and he finally can't, he cannot continue to let Domon not master his super mode. So he comes at him, and he helps Domon discover that a serene state of mind is what he needs to attain in order to be able to call upon the super mode at will. So Domon had been in this cave. Well, at the end of the 2 weeks he's in this cave. I don't know where he was before then, but he had been in there. He's been haunted by visions of Master Asia taunting him. He's been haunted by visions of his parents, his mother who's dead, and his father who's in a cryo sleep and will not be released until Domon wins the championship and or defeats the Dark Gundam and Kyoji, his brother. So, the stakes are really high. The fact that we're on a clock now, we only have 3 days until the finals, where Domon and everybody else has to head, really ratchets up the tension. But I'm not sure that I like the tension so much as I like the attention to detail that is the morality or the power structure of the show. I said it out flat out earlier that Domon was only able to use his anger to fuel the super mode for so long, and he had to go higher than that. I don't know how you would, maybe it's kind of like a drug where you become sensitive to it, or you build up a tolerance. Maybe his super mode was triggered by the influx of rage from Domon at key points, but the system, because it's, spoilers for later on, it's based on emotion, or the emotional state of the fighter, can only, it can reliably be used with that serene state of mind. And I like the fact that, there's all these crazy powers, and Schwartz comes at him with his Shadow Gundam, or Gundam Spiegel, if we must, and Domon's able to stop him with his sword, and then he goes out later and he's able to stop the Dark Army Gundams from attacking, I guess, Rain and the others with his little rusty sword, and that kind of speaks to the power that one can gain when they are in control of their emotions. So first of all, I guess I'm definitely skewing into commentary more than I am like a review of the episode. Let me see. So I've been breaking it down to between visuals and storytelling, and I guess I'm enraptured by the storytelling. I really like it. I think it's very effective, very good. But as far as the visuals are concerned, there were some really cool visuals. There's some great new Dark Army, like air troops and water troops, or like an air and sea division of the Dark Army that are showed off in that are featured in this episode. and they are pretty cool. So there's like, great design stuff. And as far as the fighting's concerned, I feel like when Master and Domon come together with their darkness and shining fingers again, that it's like a repeat of an image we've had. Like it might be a direct insert of a previous shot in the show, which I don't mind. I'm cool with them saving time and budget, and I just wonder what that was working towards, because they did some interesting visuals. The weirdness or the interplay of the scale between Domon, a man, fighting Shadow Gundam and the other Gundam, the Dark Army Gundams, is not something that we haven't seen, because we saw it exactly with Master Asia before, so that was fun. Good visuals there, but it's cool to see with Domon, because when I first saw Master Asia, obviously he was Domon's master, so he's going to be able to do certain things that his student can't, but to me, it's a visual show of how much Domon has developed, and Master Asia keeps challenging Domon. He could have killed Domon at any point, I think, but he seems to be challenging Domon continuously to grow and to become stronger, and he's even ashamed of Domon when he's like unable to defeat him and stuff. He wants him to go farther, I think, because maybe, I don't know, Master Asia is necessarily holding out on Domon, or if he just thinks that, or maybe he just has that much more strength that he could use if Domon were up to his level 100%. But regardless, there's a funny exchange between them when Domon comes out. He's doing all this stuff. He's defeating Dark Army Gundams with his rusty sword that Schwartz Bruder gave to him, and he attacks Master with it, and Master catches it and says something like, "Do you really think you could defeat me with this rusty blade?" And Domon kind of, he huzzed in response, and I was a little thrown by that. I wonder if maybe Domon, I wonder if that was supposed to signify that Domon wasn't paying attention to or thinking about the quality of the sword while he was fighting Master, because he was in that serene state of mind. He had originally, when Schwartz gave him the sword, Schwartz cut a tree down, and then he threw it to Domon. He's like, "Here, if you can use this sword the same way I can, then you'll be able to unlock your super mode." And Domon was incredulous, and when he tried to use the sword himself, he's like, what was the trick that this guy used? Because I'm not able to do it, and it's really throwing me off, because I should be about as strong as him. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting play on everything, because Domon had doubted the sword. I guess Master Asia hasn't seen that sword up close yet, and then he kind of cast aspersions on it. I don't know if Master Asia can be said to have attained a state similar that would unlock the super mode on his Gundam. It's possible that his skill has always been high enough that he's never needed anything like a super mode. It's also a little bit unclear whether the super mode is something that all Gundams have, or if it's just something that Neo Japan put into their Shining Gundam. So I don't know. I'm thinking about later in the show, spoilers again, pretty much everybody ends up getting a super mode, or all the core people get a super mode of sorts. But I don't believe like Master's Gundam changes at all. It gets gold maybe, but I don't think it changes beyond that. So that's kind of interesting. And I wonder what that means, that Master's devaluing the rusty sword that Domon is able to see value in, but less because it's actually a valuable sword, and more because it speaks to his heart and his emotions and his condition and who he is. Like it speaks to his mental and emotional state. And when he's in this place of serenity where like he's almost at the point of death where he can let go of everything else, he can see the utility of using this sword. That this sword maybe is more a part of him than it is an actual sword, an actual external object. And it seems interesting to me that perhaps Master Asia is unable to see that. But then again, thinking about where he is at the end of the show with certain things, maybe it isn't too surprising. I don't know. It's definitely interesting, and I'm excited to go forward, especially keeping this in mind. So anyway, Other cool stuff. Rey gets to pilot a Gundam again, which is awesome. They repeat the same animation cycle from before where she's really struggling with it. I think she's struggling slightly less this time, but it looks pretty much identical. She still ends up on the floor and then has to pull her hands out one by one from the from the I don't know what you call it, but whatever the trace system, whatever it does to put that suit on you. It goes all the way to the floor and your feet are supposed to pop out of it like Domon's, but she's unable to do that. But I don't think in the last one she got, well, there's like a butt shot. The Neo Japan special of the butt shot. I think Domon has his posterior emphasized when he's getting in the full spread or the full, gosh, that's weird, in the full cutscene or special animation, insert animation of him getting the trace suit on. There is emphasis on his butt, and on Rain there is too. And they do it here. I don't remember, like I said, if they did it on the first time she did it, because she pretty much got crushed like right to the floor pretty quickly. Like I remember her struggling a lot more and being less prepared. Although it's funny, she was more gung-ho this time, and I think she was more gung-ho about it this time, but when she first entered battle, she seemed like less ready than the previous time in Shinjuku. So I don't think that's inconsistent. I think it just shows that she's not a fighter, which she isn't. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm trying to make these episodes shorter, and I'm trying to spend less time because I'm doing both an audio and a video version of the podcast, or the review series, and I'm even struggling with the identity of it. Is it a review series, or is it a podcast, or is it a podcast that is a review series? I'm not really sure, but anyway, a couple weeks ago I started making GIFs, and then I just kind of ran out of time, because in addition to doing this show, I've got my comics reviews that I'm doing, and I'm reviewing Kamen Rider as well. Anyway, so that's happening here on Recypher as well, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time finding the balance between everything, but I think doing smaller, less work-intensive shows is going to help. So, I'm even kind of reconsidering. I don't know if this should actually go here or not. So if you want to stop listening now, you can go ahead, because I'm just going to talk about my approach to these shows for a minute or two. So I'm doing like I'm publishing out 3 bits of, nerdy content or whatever you want to call it a week, in addition to my writing that I'm doing. And I do want to be a successful writer. I plan on being a successful writer. That's very much my intention. So I'm working on some children's books right now, but I definitely would like to do, science fiction and YA and whatnot. Even maybe one of the children's books I'm writing even kind of is creating an opportunity for me to write more stories with these characters that would be for different ages, and they're all superhero type stories. But I really, anime, it doesn't give me life. I was about to say it gives me life, but anime is really something I love and I'm passionate about and is exciting to me. And I love the depth of storytelling within anime, which is why I can come back to it. I just watched G Gundam. I marathoned it all, and then I decided I'm going to watch them one by one as time allows. And then also, as I was doing that, I decided, well, I want to talk about all these other things too. So I had to make space for myself to talk about the tokusatsu, and I was talking about Gridman before as well, with another little podcast over on Trial of Heroes, which you can also find linked at my website, luminousbeings.blog. So yeah, I'm into all these things, but I don't really have the time to devote to being a full-time writer. So I'm writing what I can when I can, which I'm doing more or less successfully 5 days a week. And I'm doing these shows, but I want my Kamen Rider show to keep going, and I need to finish before the currently airing Kamen Rider, which is Zeo, ends, because it's kind of it's almost like this is why I'm not watching Zeo, because there's other better shows out there. But I'm eventually going to talk about Zeo too, because I don't hate it or anything. I've watched maybe 6 episodes by now, and it's at episode 20 something. So, but it doesn't really grab my interest, and I wanted to go back and look at those ones. But I also, in addition to G Gundam, there's a lot of other anime I like that I would like to talk about, and I just don't have the time. So I have this concept for another anime podcast, or video series called Anime Rush, where I just do 5-minute reviews of anime. and like episode by episode, and maybe I'll talk about like a series as a whole at the end of it. Like the other day, I just finished watching Monster Rancher, and I kind of want to talk about that. I've been wanting to talk about Monster Rancher for like 6 months or something. When anyway, that's all a distraction. My point is, like, I'm trying to trim down and get into, like, what is the groove, like, what is not the least amount of work I can do, but like, what's the best return on my investment? Because I don't have many subscribers, I don't have many listeners. I would like those numbers to increase, especially as I'm doing all sorts of content. I don't know if I need separate channels for each thing, or if I can rely, like, I want to be able to rely on the audience to say, like, oh, this guy does all these different things, but he does a regular schedule, and maybe I need to make that schedule public. It's supposed to be Monday is King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, or my G Gundam reviews. Wednesday is the comics reviews, and Friday is the when the Toku reviews go up, or the main Toku show I'm talking about. In this case, another writer cast, which is where I'm talking about all the different Kamen Riders. Like, that's when that goes up, and I feel like I can trust people to do that, and I just don't know what I'm doing that's not connecting. Am I not sharing well enough? Am I not tagging it well enough? I don't really know, but I think for now, what I need to do to make sure I'm handling all my business and getting this stuff done is, like, do a schedule for myself that'll work. So, like, right now, it's Sunday, I'm recording this. I used to record these on Monday and try to get them out on Monday too, and that was just too much work, especially because I was syncing images up together, and like on this one, I'm like dropping my art that I spent time and energy on making for the show. I might just use like images from the show plus a text, plus like my text that I've been using, but the style, but just kind of shift it up, because I'm not, like, I don't have a podcast partner. I don't know to say, like, I'm really stuck. Am I doing a podcast or am I doing a review? I don't know. Diablo, if you're listening, like, I would appreciate some feedback on this, maybe. So yeah, anyway, I'm really, anyway, I apologize for rambling on, but I did give you a jumping off point earlier. But I'm just kind of at a loss. And I think what I'm doing here is kind of a neat idea. I hope the visual works. I have one static, as you've been seeing if you're watching the video version of this, I have one static image from the episode that I want to keep as like the main thing. And then under that, I'm going to drop in different images as I'm going through. Because of today's circumstances, it was going to be best for me to record while out on the road. So I didn't really have the time to record my audio while out on the road. So I didn't really have the time to manually mess with things. For instance, on another Ridercast 5, I dropped in all my images that I wanted to talk about in the order, and I actually had a full script made up for myself that I followed for like probably 80% of the episode, and then the other 20 was me taking an opportunity to just talk extemporaneously off the top of my head. And I made sure that while I was talking, there were images associated directly with what I was talking about, because that feels like a very, like, that's a higher level of YouTube video creation. And honestly, it helps me to have my thoughts collected for when I'm unscripted and I'm talking about a certain thing for just like the audio version of the podcast. So, and then, like, I know I personally do not look at a lot of the videos that I find on YouTube. I listen to the ideas because I find the content of what the person's talking about interesting. And every now and then I'll have to stop and look at the screen if they're referencing something that I find interesting enough to look at. But mostly I do just listen to them. I'm very much an audio learner. I love podcasts and audiobooks and stuff, and that's how I take most of it in. And I don't know, I guess I'm just gonna I'm trying to figure out like what my style is of creating. And I don't know why my style isn't sticking. Maybe my ideas aren't good enough. I don't know. But I feel like I have a lot of unique takes on things. So anyway, I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm going to keep pushing because I'm enjoying doing this stuff, and I would like to see the numbers rise, but that's less important to me than doing things the way I want and maintaining, not my artistic integrity necessarily, but like maintaining a manageable workflow that's fun for me to keep doing. So I guess I'm just letting you know that if you don't like what changes are happening here, that's fine. I'm making these changes so that I can keep doing the shows the way I'm doing. And I think once I'm done with Gundam, or with G Gundam, and some of the other things I'm doing. Another Ridercast, for instance, I'm going to switch, like when I finish another Ridercast, which should be before I finish G Gundam, I believe, or maybe just like barely before. That'll be a decent amount before. I might go to doing, instead of another Ridercast, which takes a lot of time and energy because I have to watch 2 episodes and grab screen grabs from them both and whatever. It takes a lot more time. Maybe I'll keep reviewing Rider, but just do a single episode at a time. Make it more in the style of G Gundam, or this G Gundam review series, and maybe I'll even Anyway, maybe I'll even start doing more than one G Gundam in a week. I don't know. We'll have to see. We will have to see. That's all I'm going to say for now. I've been rambling on for too long. If you listen this long, thanks. Leave me a comment. You can leave this in the comment section. Burning red or hashtag burning red. I'm stealing this from somebody else who asks people to give them hashtags at the end to see if they've listened all the way through. I think it's a fun thing. So yeah, hit me up with that if you've heard all of this. Thank you for your time and attention. I'd love to do more of this. Like, share, and subscribe to cheer me on, or give me feedback to make me stronger and smarter. Visit luminousbeings.blog for more. I link everything I do there, so if you want to comment, that's the place where I'll definitely see it.